What's going on, sports fans? This is Matt Qualls from Sports Memo and Wager Talk, and we are back with the Bettor's Almanac podcast. I'm here with my good friend and partner, Eric Pauly, and we had a sick Week 11 once again, and man, this season is absolutely flying by. This is already episode 8 of the Bettor's Almanac podcast, and we are in Week 11. Eric, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Like we talked about last show, sad that football is just quickly going by. Every single week, we're getting closer to the end, which is bittersweet. But bounced another great week, 4-2, missed out on a player prop, and I bet against my Commanders last week solely because I thought that the Texans were the Commanders were the public play of the week. My numbers had the Commanders as favorites. The market did not move whatsoever when every single person I saw on Twitter, I don't think I saw one single person back the Texans. So I thought that was a little fishy. So I decided to get too smart for myself, lost that bet, but ended up hitting 4 out of the 6. So definitely not complaining. How was your week 11?
Yeah, I had a good week 11. I went 1-1-1 on the podcast. Depends where you got that Bears pick, because for a short period of time, there was a 3.5 there. It depended if you got it. I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I got the +3, so I did push, but we did hit that player prop. The Ravens did not get it done for me. But over on Sports Memo, I did have a 4-1 week, very successful, 5-2 at this point in time since the weekend, and 9-3 NBA run. So I'm feeling pretty good right now heading into week 12. We got some Thanksgiving football that we are going to be breaking down with my very own Detroit Lions. I know you got a pick. I got a pick. And real quick before we get into this, gotta shout out our proud partner in PointsBet Sportsbook. After this, we are going to be announcing the winners. And this week, once again, we will have 2 winners getting $100 free bets. Okay, this is the same thing. You're going to be placing a same game parlay over on the Bettor's Almanac Twitter. We will be placing the game. You're going to do a same game parlay with PointsBet. Place it underneath, retweet it. We'll retweet it. And, then we randomly select who wins. And so let's get into this real quick. Right now, it's time to get your swagger back with PointsBet Sportsbook. New customers can sign up using the code Almanac to get 5 second chance free bets of up to $500. That's 5 straight days of second chances, where PointsBet will match your losing wager in free bets. So use promo code Almanac and enjoy more live betting markets than ever before. PointsBet, your move. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-270-7117. And I got to shout out PointsBet for really shortening that intro for me as well. The other one was really long. So I do appreciate that. And guys, if you haven't signed up with PointsBet Sportsbook, use code Almanac. Get some free bets, get some free money, get some free bets from us. Go use them over at PointsBet. Again, let's get it going. Eric, dog of the day.
Yeah, so we're going to actually start talking with a big game breakdown because we have a lot of things that we like on Thanksgiving. So we're going to get some of the Sunday stuff situated first, then we're going to head into Thanksgiving. But, I got to be looking back at my Commanders this week, man. So this is a really interesting spot. Kyle Pitts on the IR, not like he did a ton for this offense because they elected not to use him, but just his threat is gone. This Falcons team makes their bones on the ground, and now they have to go against this Washington team that, while they have one of the best run defenses in football, has improved week over week in the secondary as well. So I'm finding it so hard to see where any offense is going to come from Atlanta. Obviously, Cordero Patterson has that kick return ability. I mean, he's a threat in special teams, but Washington's actually been good on special teams this year. I don't love laying 4.5 on this team. I mean, yes, we beat the Texans last week, 3-point favorites on the road. Now 4.5, of course, we're over that number of 3, and it's kind of a scary spot. But considering this matchup, I don't see how Atlanta scores. I don't see how Atlanta moves the football. I don't know how they can get creative enough. I mean, the thing about the Commanders is they allow a lot more yards to wide receiver 2s than wide receiver 1s, unless you are a Justin Jefferson, we called out on that show. Like, unless you're elite of elite, the Commanders do a great job shutting down your number 1 receiving option, but your number 2 can get open. So maybe like Damiere Byrd or Olamides Zaccheaus can do some damage against us. But tell me if you think I'm wrong, Matt, here. How is Atlanta going to put up multiple points on Washington this week and put together multiple scoring drives, I should say?
No, I was very much with you. When I was looking at this game last night, actually, the first thought that came to my mind was, how are the Atlanta Falcons going to win 2 games in a row? I just can't see that. And then especially with Kyle Pitts, like you said, for one, with the Washington Commanders, with each game, they have been getting better in terms of rush defense as well. Chase Young is also going to be back, isn't he?
Yes. He will, but on a pitch count.
What's that?
He'll be on a snap count. He'll only probably play 15 snaps max.
Okay. So, I mean, even with that, though, that's a boost for the team. It's kind of just an emotional boost, getting a captain back like that, or getting a player back, going forward who is such a difference maker. Chase Young is up there with the Nick Bosa's, the Joey Bosa's, the Micah Parsons. This dude is an absolute force coming off the edge. And I think it just gives the team a boost in general. And, it feels weird laying a -4, -4.5, dependent or on the Commanders, but this Atlanta Falcons team is not very good. You got to remember, in beating the Chicago Bears, the Bears kind of beat themselves as well. They gave up a kick return touchdown right before halftime to Cordarrelle Patterson, which great return to him, but a good team, a winning team does not let that happen. And I don't see a team like the Washington Commanders letting that happen to the Atlanta Falcons. This Commanders team is getting hot. That offensively, they have far more weapons than that of the Falcons. If the Falcons can't run the football, they can't do shit. And I don't expect them to run the football here. So I think they're going. I would play their team total under on top of that. And yeah, I think Washington's a great look here.
Yeah, the Bears, they have a historically bad defense, right? We're not just talking about like a mediocre middle of the pack, lower middle of the pack defense. We're talking one of the worst defenses in like the past decade of football. Like this team is abysmal. Washington, and they didn't even absolutely dominate them. Like you said, Cordarrelle Patterson had to have that kick return for a touchdown to really bolster that spot score for Atlanta and give them points to win. I don't see how they do that against Washington this week. I mean, if we're talking in terms of DVOA, Atlanta is still rated higher than Washington. They're 17, while Washington is 18. But I still think that the Commanders, even though they're 4.5-point favorites now, which is a plus for this team, and look ahead for next week, they're 1.5 points at the Giants. So can't say this team's getting disrespected per se by the market, but it seems like they still aren't viewed as a good team where, again, I'm not saying this team's a Super Bowl team or any of that nonsense. I'd love them to be, but I'm not saying that. But we're not as bad as some of these other teams in the middle of the pack, especially the Giants. I hate the Giants. I can't wait for next weekend. We'll talk about that later. But I just want to go into quickly a couple of teaser options before Matt and I goes into his last game to his favorite dog of the day, and we can kind of focus in on Thanksgiving. New England, I'll talk about. We'll table that for a hot second. But the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Packers Sunday Night Football this week, teasing them down to -1, I feel like is a gift and something that I took 2% play up on SportsMap. I'm giving it out to all my subscribers now because obviously love you guys. I took the Eagles -1 teased with the Patriots +8.5. I think there's too much value there, and I'll talk about the Patriots again shortly, but how in the world do these Packers defense stop this Philly offense? I know that they looked bad last week against the Colts, but the Colts have a very good defense, and the Eagles were unable to run the ball on them. But there's nobody on that Packers defense that can stop the Eagles' run game. So, Matt, what are you thinking? Are you agreeing with me here that the Eagles are going to outclass them and kind of work their way back? Because I think 7 was disrespectful for Philly. I think they could have easily been 8.5-point favorites here.
No, I honestly, I really like all of this. Starting with the Tennessee Titans, when I was looking at that game against the Bengals, I was thinking about taking the Titans money line there just for the pure fact that, I've doubted the Titans many times this year, but over and over, they just prove to be a consistent football team, an incredibly well-coached football team, a stingy team on defense, a team that plays hard. They run their assignments very well. And then, of course, when you have someone like Derrick Henry who can run the football and get you 3-4 yards a pop, you're going to be in any game because you can control the clock and you can pick up key first downs. And again, I think that's a similar scenario here. Ryan Tannehill has been playing better football. Treylon Burks had his first 100-yard game. And he is someone coming into this season. He's out of Arkansas. He's a big body receiver. He was someone coming into the season that I was expecting him to have a pretty damn good rookie year. And he really hasn't had that. And some of that's due to injury. But maybe this is that spot where he starts to get going. And when you look at this Cincinnati Bengals defense, they're not that great, in all honesty. They're tougher. They're middle of the pack. They hustle hard. They're kind of like the Lions defense. They hustle all over the place. They're just one of those squads. They don't do anything exceptional, but they're solid all over. And with the Tennessee Titans, I expect them to be able to move that football on them. I expect them to be able to get that play action game going on top of that. And the Bengals just aren't a team I'm putting my faith in right now. And then, like you said, with the Eagles, being able to tease that down to a -1 against that Green Bay Packers team, yeah, I'll take that all day. Green Bay Packers have become kind of a spot team, and I don't believe this is a spot for them against this Philadelphia Eagles squad, who had a subpar game against the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to want to come in and prove that they're still the top team in the NFL or one of the top teams in the NFL. So I like that spot as well. And then any national televised game where you're going to get 8.5 points, Thanksgiving, New England Patriots can run the football very well. That Vikings defense is not as good as people think. On top of that, it's actually been their offense who's been doing a lot of it, and they've just been sneaking out close games. So this is a teaser I'm looking to play as well.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you on all angles. I think the Titans are certainly a live dog as well. That line is very short, 2 points there, Cincinnati giving them. So I also have to check the injury report because if Jamar Chase suits up, that changes the entire dynamic of this game. He is questionable. I think it's unlikely he plays, but that's just me speculating considering, he broke his hip.
Yeah.
So anything is possible. Of course, I know they're trying to get him along to be ready for this matchup and this AFC, again, rematch of this playoff game last year. So the Bengals-Titans is simply just the best game on the slate this weekend from what I'm looking at. I think that's going to be a hell of a football game, and I'm excited for that. So we do have some underdogs, and like we said, we'll get into the Patriots and Thanksgiving right after. But, Matt, you were eyeing the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Ravens. I think that this is a spot where you could 100% be right. I know you are a spot better. I know Jacksonville's come off the bye. Tell me why you lean in Jacksonville on the money line.
Yeah, so for me, a lot of this does come down to this Jaguars team. They're coming off that bye, and before that, they were off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they lost by 10. And now they're facing a Baltimore Ravens team who has won 4 straight. And for me, do I like this Baltimore Ravens team? Yes. Do I think they're going to win the division? Yes. Do I think they're a playoff threat? No, I do not at all. And that's also why I don't see them winning 5 games here, 5 games in a row, I'm sorry. And a lot of this has to do with the Ravens going on the road, facing a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is coming off a loss, coming off a bye. And one thing that I really did like is Trevor Lawrence taking responsibility for his actions. He came out and said, this offense is not playing good enough, and a lot of this has to do with me. This is my fault. The offense is not going out, moving the football, and scoring points. Basically, the polar opposite of what Zach Wilson did. When Trevor Lawrence does something like that, your team rallies around you. You get respect. You get respect from your head coach on top of that. And now they're going to be playing at home as well, looking to bounce back against this Ravens team, who, in my eyes, this is a Ravens team that can be very susceptible to upsets or losses or things along those lines. When you look at this Ravens squad on top of that, they rush the football very well, of course, But when you look at the Jaguars, this is also a Jaguars team who actually defends the run pretty well, being top 10 throughout the NFL. And then on top of that, if you force this Ravens team to pass the football, the Jaguars really aren't that bad either at defending the pass. In terms of defending the pass, they're 16th throughout the NFL. And the Ravens are still without guys like Rashad Bateman. They still don't have that key receiver who's going to take the top off the defense. And if I'm being honest, I don't think Lamar Jackson is one of those guys who can do it. And then when you go and you look at this Baltimore Ravens schedule on top of everything, they haven't been beating that amazing of opponents. They've lost to the New York Giants. And excuse me. And now I actually think this Jaguars team is very similar to that of the New York Giants. They run the football well. They run a lot of play action. They're a team that a lot of people sleep on and can sneak up on you. And, they're just very sound. And now that they're playing at home against this Ravens squad, I don't know. I'm not the biggest believer in Lamar Jackson. I'm not the biggest believer in, if he can't run the football, him being able to do it alone with his arm. And I actually do believe that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a nice bounce back here. Guys like Christian Kirk have been playing very well on that offense, like guys like Zay Jones randomly, Evan Ingram, and Travis Etienne. He is looking very nice as a running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, running the football and pass catching out of the backfield. This is a +4 spread, and I really, really like this spread here. This is a Baltimore team that didn't cover the spread at home against a Panther squad. What did they score? Only 13 points. Mm-hmm. So again, this Jaguars team has a sound defense. They have an offense who plays better at home. They can move the football. If they can limit the mistakes and limit turnovers, I think they win this game outright against the Ravens. So I'm going to take the Jaguars here.
So how I view this matchup is 2 teams that are kind of being equally disrespected by the market. I think both of these teams are better than their records, even though the Ravens, of course, do have a good record. These two teams have played well throughout the season. But I think you also do make a great point that the Ravens haven't beat really anybody that impressive. And that's a big reason why I liked the Ravens over wins this season, was because their schedule was soft as shit. And now we're seeing it come into fruition. But last week against the Panthers, and this is what we discussed on the show, I mean, you were confident in them laying the 13, but I wasn't, solely because the Baltimore Ravens do not have enough playmakers. They do not have enough guys who can rip off big plus 20 plus yard plays frequently. And when you have that inability to like really have an explosive type offense, you can't really cover big spreads. Now, looking at this game, this was a total that opened at 46 points and has now dripped all the way down to 43.5 at most shops. So they're not, odds makers are not expecting, and sharps as well, are not expecting fireworks either from this game. They're expecting a slugfest, which, considering how the Ravens defense has been since they traded for Roquan Smith, that defense has been really, 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 really good. The Jaguars, on the other hand, have been great all year, but they haven't been good in the win-loss column, which obviously matters for playoffs and moving forward, but does not matter from the betting perspective. So this number is already coming down. I'm seeing some 3.5s as we speak. So if you like the 4, it seems as if you should take that by the end of the day today, maybe in the next couple of hours, because I don't know if the 3.5 will be there by the time Sunday. If a 4 will be there by the time Sunday kicks off. But I really like your angle, and I think you've done enough to convince me. Like, I think Jaguars plus the 4 is like a really great bet this weekend.
Yeah, I love the Jaguars plus 4 look just alone. But, the more I dive into this and more like we say, we kind of unpeel that onion, I'm liking this money line bet. 5 games in a row for this Baltimore Ravens team just really seems like a lot for me. So because of that, I'm going to side with the Jags. And, obviously, if you like this money line, you're going to like that plus 4 a lot more. So, yeah, I would grab that plus 4 before it starts drifting down.
Yeah, we're talking about Baltimore 5th in the NFL in DVOA, Jacksonville 13th. And while, of course, that's a solid gap in terms of just like actual percentages, it's really not that big of a gap. Jaguars off the bye as well. Again, market looking at an under here based on how the line has moved. So it's looking like a lower scoring affair. And that makes a ton of sense to me. I think we're in for a dogfight, and I'm curious to see how that breaks out.
And even when it's lower scoring like that, too, that makes me like that plus 4, especially even more. And that all you can really ask for is when you're taking an underdog money line bet, are they going to be in it in the fourth quarter? Are they going to have a chance to go down and win this game? And with the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Ravens here, I say yes. So I think they're going to have an opportunity at the end of the game. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if they have a 7-10 point lead going into the fourth. It would not surprise me.
We've seen Doug Pearson be willing to do that onside kick to open the game against the Chiefs the other week. I 100% agree they'll be going for it on fourth down if they're close to the sticks. If they're able to convert some of those times, they will certainly have an opportunity in this football game. And also they have the opportunity for the backdoor cover too, because this is a team that's not going to give up.
True.
They don't rip plays down the field as great as some other teams, but they're going to be in this football game. If they're down 10, with a minute and a half left to have some timeouts, they're going to work the field and try to get that 7. So that could just be your backdoor cover right there.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point as well, because when we do dog of the day bet, obviously we're giving you the money line play, but if we like the money line play, we obviously love the spread as well. So you can play it whatever side you want, but I think plus 170 is a pretty good tag for the Jaguars here.
I certainly do too. But let's get to some Thanksgiving football.
Let's do it.
I teased it earlier with the New England Patriots plus 8.5, but this is a bet, again, 2% locked into the card. New England Patriots plus the 3.5 I actually got earlier this week. It's sitting 2.5 now. If you're able to get a plus 3 at minus 120, even if that includes buying a half point, I would recommend getting that plus 3. I do think the Patriots win money line. I gave that out actually on a show that I did today. The official card play that was taking the points because, again, like Matt said, if you love a team as a dog, of course, you love them with the points. So definitely leaning toward wanting to get more winners here. So I'm going with the Patriots plus the 3.5. But I think they could seriously win this game money line. And while sometimes picks are spot plays, sometimes there are certain metrics or coaching matches or certain things that really lead us to some teams. Other times it's straight numbers. And this is a game for me that is straight numbers. So the New England Patriots, some may say their defense is overrated, which is not a crazy statement whatsoever, because the teams that they beat up on were Zach Wilson twice. They beat up on Sam Ellinger. They beat up on a couple of other crappy quarterbacks this year. And I forgot exactly what that slate broke out to, but between all their 5 wins or their 6 wins, they allowed an average of 9 points per game over that stretch, but against bad quarterbacks. And you play a Justin Fields, a Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers, then the Patriots points per game allowed has been 29 points per game. So there's kind of a big outlier there. You play a crappy offense, you're going to get, if you have a crappy offense playing Bill Belichick, you're going to get destroyed. If you have a unique rushing or elite quarterback, anything's possible. Now, Kirk Cousins falls directly in the middle of that. But considering how Kirk Cousins plays in primetime and not when he's hidden, I think this is another stinker spot for Minnesota. They're the most overrated 8-2 team, like probably ever, right? It's them, then the Giants, and then it's like history. Like it's not like just for this season. Like we're talking at least like the last decade that these teams are so much worse than their record indicates, which is why we dive into these things. But let's just go into some numbers here again on why I like the Vikings. So the Vikings are 8-2. You look at them on offense. Kirk Cousins ranks 22nd in net yards per attempt, and their ground game, they average 17 yards per attempt on the ground. Okay, neither of those numbers are great. Look at a per drive basis on offense for the Vikings. They're 30th in drive time, meaning they get off the field the second to quickest in the NFL, 24th in plays, 22nd in yards, and 19th in points. They're struggle on third down, and they're 14th in red zone offense. So tell me how in the hell is that an 8-2 team on offense? Then you look at their defense, bottom third in pressure rate, last in red zone defense, dead last before the Detroit Lions. So that's when you know how bad this is. 22nd in third down defense, and on a per drive basis, 23rd in plays, 27th in yards, 21st in points. So we're talking all below the halfway point on offense and defense per drive and moving the football. Now we talk about the Patriots defense. Let me find the numbers. On a per drive basis on defense, the Patriots are second in drive time, second in plays, second in yards, first in points allowed. They're ninth in third down defense, sixth in red zone defense. Going back to that defensive line that the Cowboys had that gave the Vikings so much trouble, they ranked first in pressures, sacks, and second in hurry percentage. Now they're going against the Patriots defense that ranks second in pressure rate, second in sacks, and first in hurry percentage. So it's literally the same exact matchup. Obviously, the Patriots offense isn't as good as the Cowboys offense, but Darisaw is going to be out with a concussion on Thursday, their left tackle, which is gigantic for them. He's been their best offensive lineman by a landslide. And again, they're just going up against Bill Belichick, the best defensive mind in football, with one of the best defensive lines and playing at an elite level. So I just can't. The only angle I see is if you were a spot play and you think the Vikings can't or shouldn't lose again after getting absolutely embarrassed at home, back-to-back home games, short week. And, of course, the Patriots' offense is nothing spectacular, so that might not be the concern. But, again, Kirk Cousins in primetime, Kevin O'Connell versus Bill Belichick, Patriots defensive line versus the Vikings offense, Patriots not even great offense versus the Vikings shitty defense. Every single number to me is pointing toward New England, which is why, again, I snagged the 3.5. It's down to 2.5, so I'm loving the value. Tell me if I'm wrong or not, Matt, but I don't see a way to approach this game besides the Patriots. And again, tease them up to 8.5 for the Patriots teaser. Can't say anything's free because it's, anything can happen, but that's like the lock leg for me this week.
No, so for me, honestly, I don't have an official play on this game, but when I was originally looking at it, I did like the Vikings minus 2.5, but you brought up some great points. You really did. Like when you break down and peel the onion on this Minnesota Vikings team, they're not what they appear to be. You would not picture this being an 8-2 team, and when they face tougher squads, like, we saw them face the Philadelphia Eagles on the road earlier this year, and the Philadelphia Eagles just beat their ass. It wasn't even close. And then other than that, this Vikings team has had a lot of one-score games that have been really close. Should have lost to the Buffalo Bills, no doubt. Josh Allen choked that one away.
They lost to the Commanders. Should have lost to the Commanders.
Yeah, should have lost to the Commanders as well. And then last week, I'm not going to lie, I had friends like texting me about this game being like, oh my God, can you believe that the Cowboys are favored by 1 on the road against the Vikings? I was like, hell yeah, I can. I'm going to smash that. You're out of your mind if you think the Vikings are going to win that game. Yeah. Like, I started sending voice memos. I was like, you're an idiot if you take the Vikings, literally. So I was like that confident in the Cowboys there. And this is another one of those spots. I think you might be dead on here because I think a lot of people are going to think, oh, this is a great spot for the Vikings. They're coming off a huge loss to the Dallas Cowboys. And to their credit, I think it will be a closer game. Very unlikely to get blown out twice in a row. But look at how Matthew Judon is playing. Matthew Judon is one of the best defensive players in the entire NFL. He might be the best edge rusher in the entire NFL. And if you get to Kirk Cousins, Dude, I mean, I'm sorry. Kirk Cousins ain't Dan Marino out there. He's going to make his mistakes. He's playing way better football than a lot of people expected. But a lot of this is throwing into coverage and Justin Jefferson coming down with it too. Justin Jefferson is just an absolute freak and has been making crazy plays. Justin Jefferson could even be MVP consideration this year.
Yep.
So with everything being said, I really do like your angle here. I personally might wait a second and just hope that some people take the Vikings and push this up for me a little bit to a +3. And, I really doubt a 3.5 will ever come back, but I might wait till kickoff just to see what happens here. And the teaser option, though, I'm loving that teaser option because last week when watching Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott run against this Minnesota Vikings team, they were running at will. So I think the Patriots can do the same thing with Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris.
If you go schedule for schedule, right, you're going to look at this Viking schedule and be like, they haven't beat anybody. Obviously the Bills, but we saw that broken out. Can't really say the Patriots have either, so that wouldn't be like the argument that I fully make, but the numbers I just read, just reading, and again, it's not always in numbers, but just the way that the Patriots have gotten the support with the market as well, I don't see another way to bet this game besides taking the Patriots. And again, that 8.5 in a teaser is, to me, like any teaser you have, that should be your number one leg. Like I have the teaser of the Patriots plus the 8.5 and then the Eagles. So I have my first leg going Thursday night. I have to wait until Sunday night to see how that ends up pulling out, which, I don't care if it's profit.
Dude, that Viking secondary sucks. I'll say that right now.
They're not good, bro. Like they're not good.
No.
Their best win is Buffalo. That's their signature win. Beat up by the Cowboys, barely beat the Commanders for penalty, beat the Dolphins third string quarterback, beat the Cardinals in a close game, beat the Bears in a close game, Saints in a close game, Lions in a close game, blown up by the Eagles, beat the Packers, who we know now suck. So
congrats.
But so we're gonna go into some more. I know you have your Detroit Lions playing on Sunday. You have a prop bet against them, actually, but I know that you do like the outlook on the game. So talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking about this football game, and tell me what you're eyeing in the prop market.
Yes, sir. So before we get into that, let's announce our 4 winners for the $50 free bet real quick. The winners for the $50 free bet this week were Motor City Mike, Matt Pettit 93, Zachary Simmons, and Eric MSU00. So congrats on those guys. If we have anything for Thursday Night Football, I reached out to PointsBet to see if they had anything and haven't gotten back with me just yet. But of course, as always, we still will have the free bets. We have $200 free bets going on. And we'll see. I'm going to try and post something tomorrow to see if we can't get something going for Thanksgiving. I think that would be pretty cool to get some same-game parlay action going for Thanksgiving. If you want to do a same-game parlay for Thanksgiving, we'll get a tweet out, post underneath it, and we'll include it for the same-game parlay. We'll count it as Thursday Night Football, and then we'll do the Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football one as well. So that will be included. And but I'll see if we can't get anything going specific from PointsBet. So stay tuned on that. Look for a tweet. And guys, one last thing. If you are listening on the Sports Memo platform or outside of just ours, go check out our podcast on Twitter. It's the Bettor's Almanac on Twitter. Check me out. Check out Eric. We would love to see the following grow, the subscribers, the ratings, everything like that. We greatly appreciate everyone tuning in, and we do our very best to give back each week. So let's keep this rolling with another free pick. This is another official pick for me over on Sports Memo. And yes, for the 4th week in a row, I will be betting our very own Detroit Lions. This time they are +9.5 at home on Thanksgiving, going against the Buffalo Bills. And I honestly think they can get this one done. Not sitting here saying they can win, but I think they can cover this 9.5 point spread. 9.5 is a lot of points in a primetime game at home, Thanksgiving tradition. And the Lions are used to being in this spot. You know what I mean? The Lions have won 3 games in a row now, all in underdog fashion. And, the Lions defense has actually been getting better after almost every team dropping 30 on them early on in the season. And obviously, I do think this is a game where I see the Buffalo Bills scoring some points. The Lions play on a turf field. And, like we talked about before the show, I think this Buffalo Bills team is better on turf than they are at their own stadium in Buffalo. This Buffalo team does not remind me of some outdoor stadium team. They actually remind me of like the back in the day, the greatest show on turf, the Rams, with Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk. They're one of those squads, I feel like. And now that they're coming into Detroit, I do feel like this is a game where a lot of points are going to be scored by both sides. But with that being said, the Buffalo Bills have not been that great on the road this season. The Buffalo Bills have 3 losses on the season. We talked about that Minnesota Vikings one at home, but the other 2 came on the road. And the Buffalo Bills, in comparison to the Buffalo Bills are 3-1 against the spread at home, and the Buffalo Bills over their last 4 games are actually 1-3 against the spread. And depending on where you got that spread last week against the Browns, they could be 0-4 over their last 4 games against the spread. So this is an awfully big number for a team that has potentially gone 0-4 over their last 4 against the spread. Josh Allen has been playing. It's very weird. He's been playing good football, but also terrible football. I can't exactly put my finger on it because he'll make some incredibly good plays, and then he just presses, and makes some little mistake, And I think that could happen here against Detroit as well. When you look at this Detroit offense on top of it, they are getting healthy at the right time. Everyone was ragging on Detroit early in the season, but I don't know if any team got the injury bug worse than the Detroit Lions. Now they've gotten all their playmakers back with DeAndre Swift. They have the 2-headed monster of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. And teams have shown the ability to run the football effectively against this Buffalo Bills team. And the weakness with the Buffalo Bills defense, though, has actually been their pass defense. And a lot of that is because of injury, so you can't really blame them 100%. But they're playing some rookie cornerbacks. And when the Detroit Lions can get that run game going, when they can stick it in the chest of Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift, pull it, run some play action, that's when they are at their best. And I think due to the fact that the Buffalo Bills are weaker in terms of pass defense right now, I think this Lions team has the ability to move the football on the Bills and cover this spread. And when you have a team like the Detroit Lions who literally have a never say die attitude, if there's any team in the NFL that has that never say die attitude, it is the Detroit Lions. So I really don't care, even if this game gets to a 17-point lead by the Buffalo Bills. The Lions always have a chance to backdoor cover. So when you're giving me something like a plus 9.5, I'm just going to side with the Lions. This is one of those that, again, there's not a ton of science behind this one when you compare the Buffalo Bills to the Detroit Lions. This is just me putting my faith in a hot team, a team that I think is playing they're playing better in terms of against the spread than that of the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going to put my faith in the Lions. I think this number is too big.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you here. If we're looking at 10, which you could certainly get to, because
the
thing you need to consider about Thanksgiving football, and by you, I don't mean you, I mean just generally everybody who's listening, is this is one of the squarest football betting days of the year. And also at the same time, it's a day that's generally profitable for squares. Right? Everybody, your drunk uncle, anybody who's at your house on Thanksgiving that you're having dinner with, they're going to be looking to bet football. If that's what they do, they're going to also keep their eyes on overs, favorites, and I mean overs as well. I'm not just talking, the general point, the general over under. I'm also talking player props also. Something to keep in mind if you're looking, and we have a prop that we're going to be talking about now, which I think that you're smart on getting in now, Matt, is overs on players like Stefon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Allen, the guys who are the big names. Because as the public, because guys that are just betting, again, on Thanksgiving Day, if they're not legit bettors and handicappers like myself, the people we work at Sports Memo and the people we surround ourselves with, they're not opening their FanDuel until 11:55 with the game starting at 12:15. At that point, every person who is not sharp is going to be hammering the overs on these players, bringing that line up, and up. So if you have a lean for a Thanksgiving game in terms of an over, I would recommend taking it sooner than later. If you have a lean for an under, wait. I doubt that any of these high primary big time players are going to go, their lines are going to drop. I can only see them rising, and you're going to get more value on the under later. So again, back to this game before we go into your prop on this matchup, I do think that you're right here. That 9.5 is too many. I'm not going to take Detroit. It's not going to make the card. If it's at 10, I like it more. But the squarest teaser bet on the board this for Thursday is going to be Detroit minus 3.5. Buffalo minus 3.5, and the Cowboys minus 3.5. That's going to be the most public bet on the board. So stay away from that. But I just think the only thing that concerns me is Josh Allen on the turf, and that this team, when they can get it going, are wagon. But like you said, their defense has been lackluster, but solely due to injury. We've seen what they can do when they're fully healthy. But no, I think this is going to be the better game between the Eagles and Giants game. The Giants Cowboys. I think this game is going to be a better game to watch 100%.
I think this is going to be an exciting football game too. And one last point that I forgot to mention was the Buffalo Bills this season, when they are on the road, they have not beaten a single team by double digits. Okay, so that's another thing that I wanted to add in. You can only really go off the past and what the Buffalo Bills are doing now. And this is a Buffalo Bills team that has been somewhat inconsistent. I understand their record is 7-3. They've been beating teams, but not the way that we all thought they would this year. With an offense like they have, with Stefon Diggs and Gabe Davis and Devin Singletary and Josh Allen, you would think they would have a couple more, 17-point wins, 20-point wins, whatever it may be. But there is something about this team right now that they're keeping teams in games. Mm-hmm. And a team like Detroit where, right now Detroit is just gritty as hell, 3-game win streak, Dan Campbell coming into Detroit on Thanksgiving. Like, I know how Detroit gets around Thanksgiving. Those fans are going to be excited. They're going to be wasted and they are going to be rowdy. So I really do. I got to put my faith in Detroit here.
Yeah, and like we said, injuries are key for the Buffalo defense's kind of collapse. On offense, Josh Allen, he tries playing hero ball. He does. When he does, yes. It doesn't actually work out that well. Like, he needs to trust his team. But something that does lead to him do that, and why I guess he deserves some blame 100%, but the Bills' inability to have a legitimate wide receiver 3 really, really hurts them, because Gabe Davis banged up to start the season. Stefon Diggs is great. And the way that the Bills have so many pieces, they rotate them, man, you don't need all your guys playing 100% of snaps. You rather have Stefon Diggs playing at 120% speed on 70% snaps than 80% on some of them. But the fact that they do not have a legitimate wide receiver 3. And again, that's when you're nitpicking, right? Like, some teams would kill to have a wide receiver 1 and 2, like Davis and Diggs. But it's the truth of the matter is that inability to have that third outlet really hurts this ball club. But going to player props, this is a bet that I wrote about also for FTN, because I agree with you here. The number has risen again, and it's only going to keep rising. I'm telling you. So if you like the over, get it in. If you like the under, wait. Stefon Diggs and 91.5 receiving yards. Talk to me, Matt.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This is a play I absolutely love. I absolutely love this for Thanksgiving. And it's tough to sit here and say a player prop might be your favorite pick of the week, but this one's up there for me. I really do enjoy this. For starters, this is a number that Stefon Diggs has hit in 7 out of 10 games this season, which is, obviously a 70% rate. And with a number at 90.5, and you're still hitting that at a 70% rate, that's pretty damn impressive. Mm-hmm. And then now, this is a game on Thanksgiving. It's on the national stage. And I just expect Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs to be 2 guys in a groove, on Thanksgiving in this matchup. In addition here, the Detroit Lions are going to be without their number 1 cornerback in Jeff Okudah, who has been playing great this season, and I think he's someone who would have been matched up with Stefon Diggs for a lot of the game. And now Diggs has the ability to just roam free. And if you know Stefon Diggs and you watch Stefon Diggs, this guy can play on the outside. He can play on the slot. He can come in motion in the backfield. There are so many different ways to get Stefon Diggs involved. And although this Detroit Lions team has been playing better, they've been playing teams that do not have the capability on offense like the Buffalo Bills do, or like someone like, I think, Stefon Diggs. In addition to that, this is a game that is on turf. Like we mentioned before, this isn't in Buffalo, which is a grass field. This is on turf. And there is generally a boost for these offensive teams when playing on turf. You see Detroit have the boost, and I'm sure you're going to see the Buffalo Bills have this. And another thing, Buffalo Bills played here last week. They know what this field is like. They know what the speed is like. They're going to know what the timing is like. So, again, I really do expect Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs to be in sync here. Over the last 5 games, Stefon Diggs has gotten 52 goddamn targets. That's so, crazy. Like, the target share is there. The volume is share. And that's also with only getting 5 targets against the Browns last week. And for someone like Stefon Diggs to only get 5 targets against the Browns, that means bounce back. That means he's probably getting 10 to 15 targets in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. It's really, really hard for me not to see Stefon Diggs eating a turkey leg at the end of the game, seeing Josh Allen eating a turkey leg at the end of the game. Not only do I see him hitting this over 90.5 yards, I see him potentially getting a touchdown with it. So, I see a little same-game parlay potential with Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen here as well. And to me, I just think this is a spot. I would not be surprised if Stefon Diggs damn near has this taken care of by halftime. Like, I am really expecting a big game from Diggs this Thanksgiving, national stage, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to ball, but of course I think Detroit's going to cover the spread. But I think Josh Allen gets over this 90.5 yards. No problem. Love this player prop here.
Yeah, when I looked at this number, it was 89.5, so not a huge change. But again, I do expect all of these numbers on the key players to rise as we get closer to kickoff. But my analysis for this was simple. Like you said, Diggs, 7 out of 10 games this year has gone over this number. Detroit, 23rd in the league in passing DVOA, dead last in the opposing quarterback net yards per attempt, meaning that quarterbacks have the highest in the NFL net yards per attempt against the Detroit Lions defense. We're talking about an elite quarterback and an elite wide receiver. So I'm totally with you on this one. Hasn't made my card because sometimes it's something I've been trying to do this year as well. It's sometimes, you love a play like this, but it's a play that everybody's going to love. Obviously, there are times where everybody can win and, it's happy, but most cases that is not the case. So I try to be as contrarian as possible. So I don't know if this is going to make the card. Again, my 2 plays for Thursday, locked in on Sports Memo, giving them out for everybody listening to the Almanac. 2%ers, 2% New England plus 3.5 minus 129, 2% New England New England plus 8.5 in a teaser with the Eagles -1. Matt, anything else official locked in or still working on it?
So right now, like what I have official, I definitely have the Lions. I have the Lions plus 9.5 in. Yeah, and I'll be completely honest with you. The Jaguars is my top play this week. I have a 4-unit play on the Jacksonville Jaguars, which for me, me and Eric are very similar in the way that we play units. I'm probably go a little more wild than you do, but I think compared to the rest of the people within Sports Memo, within Wager Talk, we are rather conservative, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think I have like 6 or 7 4-unit plays on the year and only 2 5-unit plays, which, a lot of other cappers, you hear 5-unit every week or you hear 10-unit or something like that. For me, I'm just not to that spot yet. I generally play between 1 and 4, and then now and then I'll pop up to that 5-unit. So if you hear me say 4-unit, that means I'm pretty damn confident. And the Jaguars I do have as an official 4-unit play at the +4. And like you said, I think that's going to dip down a little bit. So you do got to be a little careful with that. So yeah, I have Lions and then I have the Jaguars plugged in right now. And that's really about it. I'm eyeing the Colts. I'm interested in the Colts at -2.5. I think they're very similar. The Steelers and the Colts are very similar, and I think the Colts just have the better defense. So I do like that spot. Haven't plugged it in yet, but that's what I got so far.
Absolutely love to hear that. Jacksonville, New England, player props. We're looking at a lot of things this week. Another play that I am on for Sunday that I'll just give out because I love you guys is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -3, -110. I think that number is actually coming down, though, so I'm not running. Definitely do not play the 3.5. Wait to see if you see a 3-110 pop up because I thought that was a number that was going to move big time, but it just has not yet. But no, thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show. The best way to support us is to leave a review on the podcast platforms, download episodes of the podcast, and comment and just show us love. And we obviously show love back, and we appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah, and real quick, we have 15 reviews on the podcast right now, which we greatly appreciate over on Spotify. But I know I have more than 15 friends, and I know Eric has more than 15 friends. And every single week, we have a lot more than 15 people listening to this podcast. So we would greatly appreciate it if you could go over there, give us a review, give us a 5, whatever, it's 4 or 5 star, I'm not even sure. But we would greatly appreciate that, guys. And just want to say, hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Have a good time with your family. Eat some good food. Get a little drunk, and let's win some money this Thanksgiving on this 3-game slate. I think Eric and I have some fire-ass picks this week, so let's get after it. And again, let's cash these bets.
Appreciate all you guys. Happy holidays. Thank you. See you guys next time.